What is up, YouTube? My name is Paige, and welcome back to my booktube channel. Yeah. So, my my file got corrupted. So this is the intro. I'm filming it after I finish this book. However, my plan was to read Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings in the month of July. Not only was I going to read it in the month of July, I was going to read it in 7 days. My plan was to break it into 200-page segments. This book is 1,200 pages long. Mathematically, that's 6 days. However, I was giving myself a day of grace. I actually think that I might have thought of giving myself 2 days of grace and breaking it into 5 chunks of 250 pages each. I made a valiant attempt. This book was recommended to me by my fiance's brother. He actually bought me this book and gave it to me like 7 years ago. I've read the first 100 pages of this book several times and just haven't made it through. So this was the month. This was when it was gonna happen, in 7 days. So all I knew about this book was that it was high fantasy or epic fantasy, and that the magic system had to do with being able to somehow connect yourself to different parts of a space. So like being able to, what is called, lash yourself to a wall or a ceiling, or connect or stick objects together, or people to things, or people to objects, or things like that. So, and I didn't know how that worked, but I knew that there were 4 other books in this series. The 5th one is coming out this year, I believe. And this book is part of a potentially 10-book saga, which is called the Stormlight Archives. But I also knew that I was supposed to read Mistborn, which is part of the Cosmere, Brandon Sanderson's greater world. And I ignored that advice and jumped into this instead, which is what my fiance's brother has done anyway. So I knew it could be done, and I was very excited to read this chunker of a book in 7 days. So this is how it went. All right, so The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson is about 1,200 pages long, and I'm thinking if I just read it in its parts, there's 5 parts, I can just get it done in 5 days. The first part is like 214 pages, so I'm just going to try to plow through it right now. And I'm not reading it in this form because I find the text so small. Like, so small. So I absolutely did not get through 200 pages yesterday, but like no excuses, just didn't do it. So today was like kind of the beginning of my true summer, and I'm trying to get into the routine of going to the library and writing all morning. So that's what I did, but it's also the middle of a heat wave. So it's like 40 degrees Celsius here right now, and it's real sweaty. So I walked to the library this morning, got a bunch of writing done, and did a bunch of reading. So I got through about 100 pages at the library. Now I'm gonna go home. Well, I'm almost home at this point, and I'm gonna continue reading and film another video. So yeah, so far it's a good day. Hoping to get to like page 350 today. So day 2 of reading this book properly. So far I like it. I don't think I've ever read anything like it before, and I've been told that Brandon Sanderson's writing is really easy to read, and so far that's been the case. It's a pretty quick read. It's a lot of world building, obviously, and the character development is
kind of what you'd expect from a fantasy novel. So enjoying it and looking forward to continuing. Also, oh, the action sequences are really fun. I was excited by that.
I am a failure. No, I'm just kidding. No, I just haven't read a lot in the past 2 days, and I was really hoping to just like plow through this book, but instead I've been focusing on writing and, just getting into that kind of routine for the summer, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm really enjoying Brandon Sanderson's writing style. It's really easy to read, and like for the type of fantasy that this book is. Also, I realize it looks like nighttime. It is fully daytime. It just is dark. You didn't need to know that. I'm just reading a book. Just picking up my fiance from the train station, and I'm here a little early, so I brought my book, and I'm just gonna read until he gets here. So it is July 15th, and I have severely failed whatever challenge I set for myself. Reading The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I have not gotten through 200 pages a day. That was absolutely a ludicrous expectation of myself. I have gotten through 300 pages so far. It's the summer of writing and the summer of reading. I've been reading this book, and I've also been reading the Lisa Jewell book that I have for my book club, The Family Remains, which is a sequel to The Family Upstairs. Yeah, I haven't shared an update since a couple days ago because nothing really has happened. It's a lot of character building and like magic system explanation and like world building so far. And I know a lot of this book is going to be world building, but still have like 900 pages left in this book, so just gonna keep rolling through. I'm following 3 different characters: Paladin, Jaharan, and Sveth. I don't know how to pronounce anybody's name. Seth? So Kaladin was a surgeon, then a soldier, now a slave. And I'm also following Dalaran. So I don't know who's going to be the most important. Sveth killed the king at the beginning. Sveth. And Dalaran is the king's brother. And Jaharan is a thief. It's free and direct discourse, so like you get to see everybody's kind of point of view, even though each chapter is specifically from one person's point of view. Sometimes it does jump into other perspectives, which is kind of cool. And I can't imagine being able to reveal any more about the plot. Like, I've read 300 pages. Like, that's an entire book, essentially, at this point. So if I reveal any more than what happened in the first, 100 pages, I'd be giving away, plot twists and stuff. Because there have been a couple where I've been like, dang, or whoa, he's that guy, or, they're related, or whatever, right? So also, now that you've just watched me chug that entire jar of blue drink, look how much it's raining outside. I don't know if you can see that, but the summer of 2024 is the summer that it just pours rain where I live. Also, if you have not read this book, whoop, the magic system is like interesting. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but my favorite part so far is probably just like the shard blades. And it's just the swords that are magical that some characters are able to use. They just summon them using like their emotions. I just think it's really cool. It makes the fight scenes, like the battle scenes, really interesting and the hunt scenes really interesting. So, yeah, if you like sword fighting, magic sword fighting, this is pretty cool. And I get that if you're like really Cosmere fluent, that's probably pretty reductive. But yeah, for somebody who doesn't read a lot of fantasy, you know, I've read Tolkien and like a couple other high fantasy books, but like this is kind of neat. It's the next day. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen that I was on my way to the library to do some writing and I got caught in the rain. So I'm hiding at U of T, downtown Toronto, and I am gonna just read as much of The Way of Kings as I can until the rain stops. So I don't know, it's a good push to read, I guess. I'm not gonna stop reading until it's possible to walk in the rain again. The rain is just letting up. I've gotten through a couple pages, but I really want to get to the library, so you know, as soon as it kind of dies down, I'm gonna head out. But then I'll read again today. I'll read more. Okay, I need a little break. I'm about 400-ish pages through The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, but there's been a lot of world building, and we're still meeting new characters. Like, even the most bit characters have names and backstories and culture to them. And I just, for some reason, I'm not feeling that. That's like really awesome writing, and I really want to like this, and so far I am. So I don't want to like beat myself over the head with it, and I feel like it's getting kind of slumpy to me. I don't want this book to put me into a reading slump, and I don't really DNF a lot of books, so I'm gonna get back to it. I just think I need a little break. My fiance recommended A Court of Thorns and Roses, so that is what I'm going to take a break with. Alrighty, so I am coming to you after a week, but I'm reading or continuing to read the Brandon Sanderson novel, The Way of Kings. This type of fantasy novel with so many places, so many characters, complete world building, the kind of novel that Brandon Sanderson writes. I had feared that I couldn't read this quickly, and I was right. Like, I hoped that I could, but there was no way. At the point where I don't even know how to tell you where I am because so much happens and nothing happens. I'm at chapter 26, page 450. I read just under 400 pages and then I stopped. And right after that 400 pages, it really picked up. But I read about 390 pages and then I jumped out and read A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This book was the perfect little palate cleanser. I felt like this was putting me into a reading slump just because I was feeling kind of dumb. Like, I felt like this wasn't accessible to me, but it is. I am like completely understanding everything that's happening in the book. I'm having a hard time remembering people's names, so I'm having to go back and check to see if I've read about them before or if their name just sounds vaguely familiar or similar to a character that was introduced earlier, which seems to often be the case. Dalinar is making a plan, and Kaladin is also making a plan and has kind of set himself up with some allies. And Dalinar is trying to make the best choice for the kingdom. So that's where we're at right now in the story. We're right ahead of an interlude, and it's slowing down just a little bit, which apparently happens throughout these books a lot, just slows right down. I plan on continuing to break this into chunks. So I read about the first 400 pages. Now I'm going to continue reading, and I'm going to read until page 875, which is the end of part 3 and the beginning of the 3rd interlude. So when I get to that point, I'm going to stop and I'll read another book. I still have a ways to go in this section before I start my other book. So I'm going to try to plow through this in the next few days. We're almost in August, so I've read, oh my god, I've read like two and a bit out of the 10 books that I'm supposed to read in the summer. However, I have a surgery coming up, and I'm just going to be sitting and reading and writing and doing nothing else. So it's not the best case scenario, but it's not the worst. We finally, at the bottom of this page, got the title of the book on page 451. Okay, so I just finished the second part of Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings, and I am on to part 3 almost. I just have these interludes to read, and I'm embarrassed to say that I just figured out who Jasna is. Like, I just understand her connection now. I believe I should have understood that earlier, like, placed those characters together. That's what I mean. Like, I'm not, like, struggling with this book, but definitely I'm not making the connections I should be between the characters and within the world. Like, I think I need to refer more to the map and, like, understand what the Shattered Plain looks like. So they're fighting a war in an area called the Shattered Plain, where they are killing these chasm fiends, come out of these chasms in this Shattered Plain, and they have gems inside of them that are worth a lot. And so they're, like, collecting them in an effort to outdo the other army, but that wasn't the point of the war to begin with, so, like, that's kind of interesting. I'm still reading The Family Remains, so I'm actually going to read that right now before I continue with the interludes. Oh, also, Kaladin is so cool. Is that his name? Let's imagine if that's not his name. No, I just think he's, like, such an interesting character, and I look forward to reading his chapters the most. So, hopefully, he's in the rest of the series if I continue to read it. I don't know, I still have, like, half this book to go, so we'll find out if he survives this book. Alrighty, so I am back home recovering from surgery. I'm sorry if I look gross. It's really hard to shower. Finally able to read properly again. It's been a couple days since I've been back home, but I was, like, loopy from, like, not sleeping for the first day. So I'm near page 600, The Way of Kings, and I read something interesting about this series, specifically about this book, on, I think it was, like, Screen Rant, like, that article website that, like, covers books and movies mostly, and TV shows, and there was, like, a list of how readable or, like, enjoyable this series was, book by book, and this one ranked, like, 3rd of the most, like, readable of the 5 that have, the 4 books that are already out. The author of the article said something that, like, really made me think of this book in a different way. Because this is the first book in the series, they said that it is, like, a really interesting world-building book and, like, really good at doing exactly what it set out to do. And I agree. They also said that it was comforting. And I was like, yes, it is slow, but it is comforting. I'm enjoying reading it. I want to rush through it. I want to get it done because it's, like, a thick book. And it's nice to finish reading a thick book, but I don't think I should be rushing in any way. This is comforting. This is, like, a great book to be reading while I'm literally unable to do anything else except for read and, like, watch TV and drop pencils. Right now I am with, I swear I don't remember anybody's names. Shalyn and Jasna we're getting, like, an insight into their relationship and how literally just said her name and forgot it. How Shalyn's mentorship is going. So, I don't know, it's interesting. We also understand her plan a bit more at this point. Whoa. Almost dropped my phone. Okay, so I am like, I don't know what to say. I've been reading on my Kindle. I can't words right now. So I've been reading The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson on my Kindle for the past few days, and I didn't realize that I was like blowing through it. I wasn't blowing through it, but I was getting through it a lot faster than I thought I was, and I am at page 750. Yeah, 750. And it has gotten so good. I was not even sure if I was really enjoying this book, but I'm at the point now where, if you've read it, Shallan has done the thing, and Kaladin is back, but they're in the chasm. And Teft has said the line. If you've read it, you know, and it's gotten so good. But I don't know why it took like 600 pages for me to be like, whoa. But that's where I'm at now, and I'm happy about that. But yeah, so still living the life, and it's probably gonna get like messier and messier behind me. I think I'll still stop around 850 pages, so like have 100 pages, probably finish it today, and then I'll jump into another book and then come back to this one. I got my ice machine on, and I got my Kindle, ready to rock and roll. Also, my aloe plant is dying. I like stepped on it or something. So it's gotten even better. The surgeon, soldier, Kaladin, has made a plan, and he's gonna do this. Like it's crazy. Like he's making like the most ridiculous plan. And so if this part of the story is picking up, and the other one is picking up, the one with Shallan, like this book is gonna be wild for the last 400 pages. I'm very excited, but I was not expecting that. Oh, also I've been listening to like these lo-fi playlists. Right now I'm not listening to one that's like very on topic, but this one's like called like Quiet Calm with Healing Place Deep Study Work to Focus Study. It's but I've also been listening to ones that are like Enchanted Forest and The Fellowship of the Rings, and like very like fantasy themed lo-fi playlists, which are very nice to listen to. So let's find one that suits our needs. I've also been listening to Chapel Run. This is so funny. So I looked up Stormlight Archive lo-fi, and there's like people have actually made playlists to listen to while you're reading the Stormlight Archive. Lo-fi Game of Thrones beats. There we go. Okay, sorry if it's loud. The highway's right over there, but I am not too many more pages in. I actually like took a break from reading earlier, and I just needed to friggin' zone out, apparently. I probably didn't. I just did that. 44. And there's just like this throwaway line in here. If you're reading this book in the way a lot of people read fantasy, I've heard, where you like skim a lot of the chapters that like do some of the world building, but it's like not nitty-gritty character stuff or very explicit explanations of the magic system. It's just a point where like, these days were dreary and he found it difficult to get anything productive done, as if the lack of storms left him without strength. Like, we know, but that line just, I think it's just like the opening for the rest of an explanation that we've been waiting for, that's just busting open the Kaladin thing. But like, it's also like an indication of why you should like talk about your feelings and like communicate well with people around you, because I feel like he never told anybody that, oh, like these storms make me feel real good. And if he had, then maybe other people would have been like, that's not normal. They're giant hurricanes every 5 days. You like that? So my book is like way over there and I can't be asked to go get it. But I am now on to part 4, so I've read, I think it's like 898 pages of the book. So I only have about 400 pages left. No, 300 pages left. Whoa. So I'm going to try to finish it tomorrow, which is Sunday. Right now, it's like sitting at like a 4-star read for me. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's more of a 3.5, because the first 600 pages were really boring. And then it got more and more interesting. I'll give a full review at the end of this video. Right now, taking a little break, and I'm reading The Day of the Triffids. My friend who's been like helping me out while I get my healing done on my knee, she recommended this to me because it's just something that she like talks about a lot, and I've never really known what she was talking about. And she's like, oh, you should read it. So she brought it to me, and I'm reading her copy. So as of right now, part 4 is about to begin, and Kaladin is hatching his plan with his dudes, and Shallan is hit rock bottom. So that's where we're at. I'm not sure. It doesn't look like Shallan's even in the next part, so I'm not really sure what's up with that. Maybe she is. I don't know. I just haven't seen it. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Okay, it is getting so exciting because now it seems like Dalinar and Kaladin are going to meet. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so Kaladin is seeing Dalinar's troops, and now they're trying to hide some spheres, and just stuff is happening. So I'm gonna eat my food, which is so delicious, and there's so much of it because I'm starving. And I'm just gonna read my book. Hopefully I just didn't show you like the inside of my thigh, but if I did, you're welcome, I guess. I did not take another break to read another book. I'm just kind of barreling through this last third because it's really, really good. Apparently I'm 75% through this book, but I think it's more like 80%, maybe more, because the end of this book on the Kindle is just like a bunch of random things. Let him through, oh my gosh. Oh my poop. Y'all, it's getting wild. Amaram's coming. I don't know when, but I don't know what's gonna happen. It's the next day. I didn't read a lot yesterday. Well, that's not true. I read like 100 some pages. Yeah, I've got about like 150 pages left. But I got my stitches out, so that's good. Yo, this book is getting so intense. Like, I know I keep saying that, but like it got really good at page 600, and it got better as it kept going. So like at page 800 I was like quite invested in all the characters, where I really wasn't at the beginning. I just felt like I'd been introduced to them, and being introduced to them is, in my opinion, a lot different than being invested in them. And it sounds like people get invested in these characters very quickly, and maybe that has to do with like the expectations. Hi, you brought me sweet tarts. Okay, so I'm sorry it's dark, but Dalinar's having one of his like time travel vision moments, like pops out of the scene so quickly that it just like reminded me of like That's So Raven.
Okay, that didn't go too well.
So turns out he's exactly like That's So Raven. And I'm on chapter, let's see, 60 of 75. I'm almost done. I did not finish on Sunday. I don't know why I keep setting myself these weird goals, because I'm just like, I'm reading to enjoy. It's not a race. It got hot. Not actually, but it definitely had some passion to it. All this time, everyone's saying Dalinar's a coward, Sadie's is a coward. Like this, it's getting like faster. It's faster. I'm on page, oh, I don't know what page I'm on. I'm on chapter 66. And now these chapters are Kaladin and Adolin and Dalinar all in one chapter. We're getting towards the end. It's getting exciting, like very exciting. It's just battle scenes left, it seems. Oh, a squirrel. Look at that. I think I read a spoiler on the internet by accident. Somebody commented on a post I looked at that wasn't spoily, and like, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's good so far. Like, come on, I can't even, like, Sadie's is, it's, you smell lipstick and my Valentino white. He spun it around on us, okay? And I wasn't ready for that. And that's fine, and it's good, and I like it. But, like, how does he actually think he's gonna get away with it? It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's not like they're, like, everybody saw what happened. I'd set myself, like, a lofty challenge, and to be quite honest, I'm sure I could have done it, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to. Once I got to page like 400, I didn't want to read it fast anyway. I wanted to stop. And I did, and I read ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses, which was the perfect palate cleanser because it is the complete opposite of how Brandon Sanderson writes. I didn't enjoy ACOTAR nearly as much as I enjoyed The Way of Kings. The first 400 pages of this book are world building. The world building is dense. There's a lot of characters, and I have the memory of shrimp pad thai. But I was all in me. Like, this book is not scary. The first 400 pages of this book, although dense, is completely digestible. I just got so nervous that I wasn't going to be able to remember all the key points, all the key characters, the important parts of the magic system, how the world is connected, who knows who and who's related to who and whatever. None of it ended up mattering. Brandon Sanderson is such a good writer that even if you feel like you're not absorbing any of this, you absolutely are. I felt like I did have to go back and forth and check to see if I knew a character already, because some felt similar to me, not even that they were spelled similarly. However, if I had just let that worry go, I could have just enjoyed the entire book. Instead, I got real in my head, and the first 600 pages felt daunting and like I might not enjoy the book. Even though I was enjoying it, I still liked it. I just got scared, which is so silly. I feel like I researched a little bit too much into how to read the Cosmere, and then felt like I'd made a mistake in reading this first, and felt like I had done myself a disservice by not reading Mistborn. By the end of the book, I did not feel that way. By the end of the book, I was like, you can read whatever you want. And reading this first in the Cosmere may have been a mistake, but I'm never gonna know that because this is the first thing I read. And I still understood everything that was going on by the end of the book. If you like fantasy, If you, like me, have read all of Lord of the Rings, any big chunk of Game of Thrones, this is completely accessible to you. Even though it is written differently, if you like his writing style, once you start reading, I'd say give it at least 100 pages, but the first scene in this book is so fun. If you like the first assassin scene, read the rest. It's so fun. The second half of this book picks up so much. That's where the plot is. That's where the characters develop. And in this book, if you are a fan of characters developing into fully formed human beings by the end of a story, this book is for you. The three characters that they focus on, Kaladin, Shalana, and Dalinar, people favor Kaladin. Like, people love him. He is so cool. He's like the hero. And you know that kind of when you meet him. My favorite's Dalinar. I think he is so sweet. And in my opinion, he is the hero of this book. Like, Kaladin, yes, of course, but like, I have never had a book crush, but if I were asked the question, Dalinar, 100%. I was like, not crying, but nearly by the end of it, just because he's just so great. I've heard people saying that they've researched the magic system in this book as they're reading it because they don't understand it enough. I would suggest do not do that. Brandon Sanderson, I keep calling him Brander Sanderson, that's not his name. Brandon Sanderson is an excellent world building pacer. That's not a real term, I'm just making it up, but he gives you just enough information that he's able to create twists with his world building. He does not explain the magic system to you, he shows you how the magic system works through action, which is like the best, most fun way, in my opinion, to learn about a magic system, or really about anything in a fantasy book, or any book. I am not a fan of exposition, which is why ACOTAR was a good palate cleanser, but it is so different than this. I've heard a lot of people say that Sarah J. Maas is like an amazing writer and her pacing's awesome and she's great at like building these worlds, and this is so different, and that is why it's so long. He is able to show you everything about this world. He doesn't have somebody come in and explain a dang thing to you. Maybe once or twice in conversation, but that's how regular people talk to each other. I'm gonna tell someone I know how something works, but very rarely does that happen in this book. People find things out for themselves just like you do in real life. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4 because of how the first 400 pages made me feel. Now, I've said that I kind of got in my own head and I shouldn't have felt that way to begin with, because I did have the ability to absorb and understand everything that was happening in the first 400 pages of this book, even the first 600. But like, the fact that this book made me feel that way at all means it can't be a 5. It can't be a 5-star. It can't even be a 4.5, because if I had to take a break midway through, regardless of how much that was on me, unfortunately it's not a 5. However, it could be a 5 for you. If you do not get in your head about it the way I did, if you allow Brandon Sanderson to do his job, you could absolutely devour and adore this book. Thank you for joining me on my renewed reading journey. Please like, subscribe, comment your thoughts on The Way of Kings if you've read it. Let me know who your favorite character was and why Dalinar wasn't it. I hope you are having a lovely reading year, and I hope that even if you do get into a reading slump or force yourself into one using mind games, that you find a palate cleanser for yourself and get back to reading amazing books, just like I did. Again, like, subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.